Hey, Richie Coy here, and I'm here starting a new series for my driving academy. And first thing we're going to go over is racer etiquette, basics of um, kind of things that you should be doing on the racetrack, or not doing on the racetrack, depending. Back in the day, when racers would learn how to race, other racers would take the racers aside after races and explain to them things that they were doing on the racetrack that may or may not be correct. Um, Things like I'll be going over later in this video, you know, and they would do that mainly not to be nice, but to make the racing safer for both the competitor that they were talking to and themselves. I mean, obviously, if you're catching somebody and they don't know where they're doing on the racetrack, and you try to go past them and you guys both wreck, obviously that's not good for either driver. So, like I said, back in the day, you'd get on a racetrack either before or after the racetrack. Maybe sometimes it was after you did something bad. Sometimes it was before. Racers would take you to the side and be like, "Look, this is how you do things. This is what we expect for you on the racetrack." And now these are all things that are not written down. These are all things that have been passed down from racer to racer. But unfortunately, in today's world, um, whether people are watching TV, then buying a computer, hopping on the sim racing, trying to emulate what they're seeing on TV, or it's parents that have bought a race car specifically for their kid, whether it's a quarter midget, a go kart, or whatever it is, have no idea about racing, then they bring their kid into that environment, and that type of etiquette isn't taught um, at that level. They may get taught later as they move up, but it may not as well. I mean, you look at some of the NASCAR ranks nowadays, and there's no etiquette at all in any of that type of racing. So, the other thing, obviously, is that people may just hop on the sim racing, and again, there's no etiquette. You go to an official lobby race, and it's no holds barred, Thunderdome style racing. Etiquette's not taught there, so that's why I'm making this video so that we can possibly get some thoughts on how etiquette can help improve some sim racing and real racing in general. So, if you have been sent this link, maybe there's something in this video that somebody wants to tell you, or maybe you're new and you just want to see what it's like and what racers expect of you. So, the very first section of etiquette is obviously don't run into other cars. If you're on pit road, don't run into other cars. You're following somebody on pit road so close that if they lift off a hair bit, you run in the back of them. That's on you. It's not on the person in front of you. That's on you. There's no need for you to be following that close on pit road in sim racing. There's no need for you to be hitting anybody on pit road. Don't hit people. Don't hit people on pit road. Restarts. Another thing that happens all the time is that people think, oh, we get this green flag and I bump the guy in front of me, it'll jump us both out because I saw it at such and such track with Joey Logano doing it. And the reality is that in more often than not, when you make contact with another car, it screws both of you up because you may hit too hard, bring the wheels off the ground of the car in front of you, and more often than not, you do more damage than you do that jump. Especially if like the restarts on lap 5 of a 150 lap race. There's no need to hit anybody on restarts. You just don't need to do it. It's just not proper. Um, Definitely under caution. Absolutely no reason to hit anybody under caution. Frustrated, not paying attention, whatever it is, there's no need to hit anybody off the caution. Talk to them offline, talk to them afterwards, send them a message, whatever you need to do. It's not fair in real life. It's not fair to the track workers that are on the racetrack cleaning up maybe a mess or an accident or EMT workers that are helping out another driver. And then here you go starting to hit people under caution, causing more incidents and a possible, issue on the racetrack. And then finally, there's no need to really hit anybody on the green. If you're not driving over your head, you don't run into the guy next to you. If you're not dive bombing people, you're not running into people. there's really no reason to hit anybody on the racetrack. Even when we're at Talladega Super Speedways, the bump draft, it's crazy. People don't even know how to do it. They run up behind you and they hit you so hard that it lifts the rear wheels off the ground. Well, all you're doing is slowing everybody down. There's no need to hit anybody. It just stay in your lane, stay in your groove, and race your race. There's no reason to be laying on people. There's no reason to be moving them out of the way. Just run your race. Don't hit anybody at all. Pit road restarts under caution, underground. It's just not what you should be doing. Which brings us to my favorite new thing that I hear all the time, and that's not my fault. I hear it all the time. That wasn't my fault. That wasn't my fault. What happened? Oh, that wasn't my fault. Don't worry about it. It wasn't my fault. Well, you know what? If you have to say it wasn't my fault, I would bet probably 60 to 70 times it was not only your fault, but it was because of something you did. Saying it wasn't your fault doesn't make it any more or less your fault. If you run down the straightaway and dive under somebody, slide up the racetrack, bounce off the side of them, it's your fault. You can't just say, well, that wasn't my fault. The track had no grip. Well, no, the track had the same amount of grip as it did last lap. You just drove in so deep that you ran into the guy next to you. It is your fault. If you're constantly being involved in incidents, that might be the common denominator. Maybe it is your fault. Maybe you need to look at yourself and say, hey, I'm overdriving the corners here. I'm overdriving my race cars. I'm going 3 wide on lap 2 and putting people in bad positions, and all of a sudden I'm making all these wrecks. So instead of saying it's your fault, maybe stop, take a look at what happened, learn from it, and then not do it again, and it'll make you a better race car driver. If you run into the guy in front of you, it's your fault. Unless the dude goes down the straightaway and literally locks up the brakes as you're behind him. If you run into the back guy in front of you, it's your fault. You drive down in a corner and the guy comes down like this and you drive in and tag him, that's your fault. It's not the guy's fault for driving his line, which happened to be in your way. If you run into the back of somebody, it is your fault. Learn from it. Don't do it again. If you turn down, somebody gets under you. So say this happens and the guy gets under you and you turn down into him, it's your fault. You turned down into him. You know what I mean? So you got to stop saying it's not my fault, and you need to start looking at things and ultimately taking responsibility for things and learning from it so that you can be a better race car driver. If you can't hold a straight line straight away, if you can't hold a straight line in a corner, I'm almost going to guarantee it's your fault because somebody's going in alongside of you, expecting you to stay on the bottom, and you decide you want to come out up here. Well, guess what? You moved your line and ran into somebody. It's your fault. If your answer is, I'm holding my line, it's more than likely your fault. So again, if you go down the straightaway and a guy gets under you down the straightaway and you go in the corner like you did last lap, like there was nobody there, but there's a guy there, and you guys make contact, guess what? It's your fault for not giving up a little bit of space. You don't have to give the guy the line, but you have to give him something because he's there. He's in the spot to be able to make the pass, and you decided to hold your line. It's your fault. It's not the guy that's trying to pass you's fault at that particular point. If he runs in the back of you, it's his fault. If he gets under you and you decide to come down on top of him because you're holding your line, guess what? It's your fault. Blocking. My personal pet peeve. I don't know when and where this happened. I'm going to assume that it happened from NASCAR racing. Joey Logano was huge with this kind of stuff. But blocking is, pardon my French, it's a bitch move. I have done it a few times. I hate doing it. Somebody gets a run on you. they got to run it. Blocking them is literally a way to invite contact, to possibly cause an issue, to possibly cause a wreck, to get somebody else involved in your on track incidents. Blocking it's just a bitch move. It's just somebody gets a run and you decide, no, you're not getting by me. You know what? Yeah, they probably are. Get to the next corner, get a run on them, go back by them. Otherwise, they deserve to pass you. You know, the whole blocking thing is just, I don't know where it started, but it's not what race car drivers need to do. It's not you race. Somebody gets better than you. It happens. Get better. Practice. Get a better car. Get a better setup. Do whatever you need to do. But if somebody has a run on you, they have a run on you. Give up that, make a run for it. You don't have to give up the position. Make a run for it. Give them space. They got the run. Live to fight another day. Dive bomb. That's my next pet peeve. So, a lot of things that people see is they see all this passing that happens going into a corner. But the reality is that a pass should start middle of the corner off. It should never start going into the corner. If you start a pass going into the corner, that means that you are dive bombing somebody. And a lot of times that'll end up in some type of contact. So what I'm talking about is that you get two cars going down the straightaway and you go into the corner and then this person lifts where they normally do. And this person says, I got you. And they drive in there. Boom, contact. If this person behind had gone into the corner behind that car, utilized a better middle speed and turned and came off and was here coming out of the corner and they drove down the straightaway, that's how passing is supposed to happen. That dive bomb into the corner is just that. It's a dive bomb. It's not a good move. It's a high percentage move of not working. So if you can follow a guy into the corner really closely and then turn and get a better run off, that's a move. That's a high percentage passing move because you'll have the whole straightaway then to get to work yourself underneath that car going down the backstretch so that person knows, hey, it's not my, somebody's going by me. I got to give them room going into the corner. Dive bombing, not how you do a proper pass. Center the corner, off. That's where you start your passes. You could finish it going into the corner. You may finish the pass 2 laps later, but you start it coming through and off the corner to get here, to get that position on the guy, or here, depending on if you're going to pass on the outside. Sim racing specific. This next one, your mouth on the mic. So in real racing, you may have a microphone to your crew, and they want to hear you get passionate or get upset. Guys on the racetrack in the sim racing, we don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear that this guy did this to you and that, the other thing. If you got nothing nice to say on the microphone, don't say it. A, it's not going to change what happens. B, it's not going to make anybody feel any better. It could ruin somebody else's race. The reality is you look like an idiot more times than not. If you got nothing nice to say on the radio, don't say anything at all. And that's my mom coming back. The other thing that just in this day and age that just boggles my mind is the words, it did what I had to do. Well, I drove down the corner and I did what I had to do. Well, okay. What does that mean? You went down in the corner and bonsai'd somebody, stuffed them in the fence, and you won the race. Racing is just that. Unlike other sports where there's a winner and a loser because there's 2 teams playing, racing can have 40 different players in it. You may not win. In fact, more often than not in racing, you lose. You don't win. And sometimes in racing, you need to finish second. Sometimes you finish 5th. Sometimes you win. Sometimes you don't finish. But you're did what you have to do mentality of running through people to get a spot. It's not racing. That's demolition, Ricky Bobby, Days of Thunder bullshit that Hollywood has pushed out. And NASCAR has now adopted because of this win and you're in crap. Doing what you have to do is bringing your car back in on four wheels with as little damage as you can and getting the best position you can. In real racing, if you wreck your race car, you're showing absolutely no respect to the people that work on your race car, to your crew that work blood, sweat, and tears and putting that race car on the racetrack for you to go out and wreck it. That is disrespectful. I'll give you a case in point. Ty Gibbs and the bullshit that he did at Martinsville, where he took a perfectly clean race car and after the race ran into Sam, I think it was the one car, and destroyed the whole front end of this car. To me, that tells everybody who works in that car, I don't give a crap about you. I was mad at that guy, and I was going to use my car to destroy that guy's car, which in turn shows no respect for the guys that work on that guy's car. There are people that work on real race cars every day of their life, and they work very hard for that. In sim racing, it doesn't translate because you just hit a button and you get a new car. But the reality is that when you did what you had to do, you're not showing respect for anybody around you. You're basically giving everybody the middle finger. I don't care about you. I'm out here. And again, in the real world, that one doesn't really fly because you could hurt somebody. In the sim racing world, unfortunately, it's kind of the accepted norm, but doesn't make it right. Did what you had to do is bring your car home to the best of your abilities in the best spot that you possibly can. And if that's second, it's second. If it's winning, it's winning. If it's 15th, it's 15th. But the priority is to do what you had to do is that whole mantra is just BS. Do what you got to do to bring your car home to the best of your ability. End of story. So the last thing I want to go into about etiquette, and this has been a sore subject in racing since the first two cars got on the racetrack together, and the one car caught the next car by lapping, and that's lap cars. So I want to preface this by saying I am a big believer that every race car driver, every race car on the racetrack has the right to be on that racetrack as much as everybody else, whether it's the guy in first, the guy in last, and everybody in between. Everybody has the right on the racetrack. Everybody has the right to race to their ability, to the best of their ability, without being run into, run over, run through, and all that kind of stuff. Now, there are times when you're going to get lapped on a racetrack. I've been lapped. Jeff Gordon's been lapped. Tony Stewart's been lapped. Joey Logano's. Everybody's been lapped in their racing career. Nobody likes it. It's not fun. But it happens. If you're being lapped, your main goal is to not wreck the leaders. I mean, as sorry as that sounds, you're being lapped. It's not your day. Don't wreck the leaders. That's the first goal. But reality is that you want to basically give the leaders a lane to get around you, whether it's the inside lane or the outside lane. You don't have to stop racing. You don't have to give up to the leaders, but you do have to give the leaders sufficient room to get by you without the two of you guys making contact. Now, you can also give a little bit to the leaders. Not expected. It's just a nice etiquette that if you are being lapped, you want to be treated or treat people as you would be treated if you're trying to lap them. If you give somebody a hard time, well, you can't complain when that guy gives you a hard time back. If the guy gets to you and you ease up a little bit, let the leader go by without having any issues, then maybe when the roles are reversed, that guy will think about it and give you that type of etiquette. It's also, if you are going to give up to the leader and give a little bit to them, not give up, but give a little bit to the leader, give him the corner. Let him get out of the corner. Don't do this and then have the leader have to go down the straightaway like you guys are racing. If you're going to give the leader a little bit, give the leader a little bit. Let him take the corner, and you can move on with your race after that. It's again, there's no law, there's no rule. I've never read a rule that said that a lap car needs to give up to the leader. This is the etiquette of a lap car. You should your race is not for the lead. I know you're racing for the best that you can, and that's great. But you need to kind of give a little bit to the leader because that's part of being lapped. Um, when you there are certain times when lap cars can be faster than the lead cars, and the roles are reversed, and a lap car may catch the leader and or the top five, and they're they have new tires, so they're faster than the other cars. It is okay for you to try to get your lap back, as long as you don't run over, through, or cause any issues to the lap cars. I mean, to the lead lap cars, because they're running for the lead of the race. You're trying to get your lap back. You need to be the conscientious one and not ruin everybody's race. With that said, there is a time and a place. So if you're like under 10 laps to go and you've caught the lead pack and you're a lap down, it's 8 laps to go. It's not your race. You're already in a lucky dog spot if you're running NASCAR. Let the leaders race. That's the etiquette. The etiquette is to let the leaders race. It's not to drive up through the leaders and cause this guy to go 3 wide and that guy to go 3 wide, and this guy gets in the defense because you were pushing him here because you were trying to get your lap back with 8 laps to go in a race. It's 8 laps to go. It's less than 10 laps to go. Get out of the way. Have the etiquette to let the leaders race. If you're racing somebody else, and you're part of that lead pack, that may be an exception to that. But the reality is that you still shouldn't run up there and run through all these guys because you can. They're running for the race lead. You need to be respectful to them. And that's just the way that it's been for years. You don't want to be the guy that causes somebody to lead because you decided with 6 laps to go, you wanted your lap back. It's just, you don't need to do that. You didn't need to do it because you were in a lucky dog spot. All you have to do is stay there, let the leaders race, finish where you're going to finish, move on to the next week. It's just not proper etiquette with like 10 laps to go, even with 15 to 20 laps to go. You got to use your head. I mean, are you going to gain a lot of stuff? I mean, are you going to gain 15 spots by passing the leaders and putting them in a bad situation? Or are you just going to finish on the lead lap and maybe cause somebody a good finish? Got to use your head. Got to use etiquette. You got to use the thought process of, am I going to screw somebody else up race just trying to finish on the lead lap? So honestly, that's all I really got about etiquette. I mean, honestly, the overall thought process here is use your head. Don't run into guys. Hold your lines when you need to hold your line. Give your line when you need to give the line. Don't run into people. Don't run into people who say it wasn't your fault when obviously if you ran into them, it was obviously your fault. Use a little bit of courtesy when you're racing people. Treat them like you'd want them to treat you. Use your head. That's the bottom line that I think you need to take away from this particular video. So with that, go out, have some fun, do some racing. Hopefully, you could have a good couple of races, maybe go instant free, maybe learn from some mistakes you make. Everybody makes them, and move on. Become better racers. Catch you later.